Ethan groaned as his eyes blinked open. Thick smoke filled the small cockpit, and sparks jumped from the cracked dashboard. His shuttle had crashed. The last thing he remembered was a warning light and then a hard jolt. Now, he was lying sideways. In his seat, a sharp pain running through his leg. He tried to sit up but hissed in pain. His left leg was pinned under a broken panel. He gritted his teeth and pushed it away, dragging himself out of the seat, outside, through the shattered window. He saw a strange forest, huge glowing trees, tall plants swaying as if breathing, and soft blue light hanging in the air like mist. This was Torvin 4. He had been sent to explore it alone. Just a simple scan mission. No threats were expected. Just data collection. But now he was stranded. The comms were dead, and the backup beacon was barely blinking. He pressed the button once in hopes someone would hear the weak signal. Hours passed. The air grew colder, and the forest sounds changed. Soft whistles, odd clicks, and strange howls echoed around him. Ethan didn't know if the creatures here were friendly. He leaned against the wreckage and held his jacket tighter. His leg throbbed, and he began to drift into sleep. A noise made him jump, rustling. Footsteps, not loud, gentle, like someone walking carefully. He looked up. A figure stood a few steps away, partly hidden behind a tree. She was tall, slender, with silver blue skin that shimmered in the dim light. Her eyes were large and glowing softly, like the stars above. Her hair moved like it had a life of its own. Floating slightly even without wind, she tilted her head, watching him. Ethan blinked. "Hello?" he said weakly. She didn't speak. Instead, she slowly walked forward. She looked curious, not afraid. Her hands were open, showing she had no weapons. Ethan's heart began to beat faster, not from fear but from the strange beauty of her. She paused near him, her eyes lowered to his chest, then to his leg. She crouched and gently touched the edge of the wound, making a soft sound like a hum. Her hand then pressed gently over his heart. He froze. She looked up, surprised, then smiled. She hummed again, this time almost like a tune, and pointed to his chest. Ethan tried to understand. "My heartbeat." She nodded. It was racing. She seemed pleased by that. She carefully helped him stand. Her touch was light, almost floating. She guided him slowly away from the wreck, deeper into the forest. He leaned on her, barely able to walk. The path twisted through glowing vines and soft moss. It didn't feel dangerous, it felt warm, alive. After a short walk, they reached a small clearing. At the center was a pool of glowing water. Steam rose from it, and the air felt warmer. She helped him sit near the edge and dipped a cloth into the water. Then she began cleaning his wound with slow, gentle movements. Ethan winced, but the pain faded quickly. The water had strange healing effects. His breathing slowed. He watched her as she worked. Every few moments, she would glance up at him and then place her hand over his chest again, checking his heartbeat. Each time, she smiled softly when it sped up. He couldn't explain it, but something about her made him feel safe. She pointed to herself and said, "Alira." He repeated, "Alira." She smiled again and pointed at him, "Ethan." He said, double quotes, "Ethan." She tried, carefully. Then she placed his hand over her own chest and let it stay there. He felt her heartbeat. It was slow, steady, but when she looked into his eyes, it quickened. They sat like that for a long while, just listening to each other's hearts. No words were needed. Her people must have connected through feeling, through rhythm, through sound. And now, here she was, trying to understand this strange human through his heartbeat. That night, Ethan lay near the warm pool, a blanket of moss over him. Alira sat close, watching the stars. He noticed how she tilted her head every time his heart beat faster, like it was a song. Only she could hear. She didn't leave. She stayed by his side. He smiled to himself. This strange, silent bond was growing. And in the quiet of the alien night, he whispered, "You saved me." He wasn't sure if she understood the words, but her fingers brushed over his chest once again. His heartbeat answered for him. The next morning, Ethan woke to soft light filtering through the glowing trees. The air was fresh and cool, filled with sounds he could not name. Alira was already awake, sitting nearby. She smiled when she saw him open his eyes. Then she touched his chest gently. Feeling his heartbeat fast, she said softly, her voice musical and calm. Ethan smiled weakly. He did not know the word for fast in her language, but he understood the feeling. His heart was racing not because of fear, but because she was near. The strange connection between them had grown overnight. Alira stood and beckoned him to follow. He carefully rose, testing his leg. It still hurt, but the healing water had helped a lot. She moved through the forest with grace, never rushing, but always sure of her way. She led him to a place deeper in the woods, a hidden spring surrounded by tall crystal plants that glowed faintly blue. The water here was clearer and warmer than the pool by the crash site. Ethan knelt by the spring and cupped water to his face. Alira watched him with wide eyes and a soft smile. Then she touched his hand and pointed to the water. It was a silent invitation to rest and drink. He drank slowly, feeling the cool liquid soothe his dry throat. Alira sat beside him, legs folded like a dancer's, and began humming a soft tune. It was peaceful, almost like a lullaby. Ethan listened. The song made his chest feel warm. He looked at her and tried to hum back, but only managed a rough sound. She laughed softly, a sound like bells, and repeated the melody. He copied her again, and this time she smiled wider. This was their language sound and heartbeats. Alira's single quotes as people were very different. Ethan noticed how she touched his chest often, feeling the rise and fall of his heartbeat. When she was near, it seemed to beat faster, as if her presence made his heart race. She seemed to enjoy this, and sometimes she would close her eyes and smile, as if the fast heartbeat was music meant only for her. Ethan wanted to understand her world. He tried to speak, but words were difficult. Instead, he pointed to the sky and said, "Earth," hoping she would learn his home planets. Name. Alira nodded, then pointed to the forest and said, "Torvin." "Torvin 4, Ethan added carefully. She smiled and repeated, "Torvin." He realized she was curious about him, and he about her. For days, they stayed near the spring. Ethan's leg grew stronger, but he did not want to leave. Alira showed him small wonders of the forest, plants that glowed, animals that moved like shadows, and stones that sang when touched. One afternoon, while exploring, Ethan noticed a strange feeling. His heartbeat was faster than usual, but this time it was not just because of excitement or movement. It was different, something deeper. Alira saw this too. She stopped walking and looked at him with bright eyes. Then she took his hand and placed it over her chest. Ethan felt her heart beating soft but quickening when his hand touched it. She whispered a word he could not understand but sounded like want. Ethan smiled. "Yes," he said simply. She repeated the word slowly, "Want." The moment felt fragile, yet powerful. From then on, Ethan realized the meaning of the fast heartbeat. It was not just fear or excitement. It was something stronger. It meant wanting to be near, wanting to share, wanting to care. Alira was learning. And so was he. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned purple and gold, they sat by the spring. Ethan carefully took a leaf and drew a simple circle on the ground. Inside the circle, he drew two smaller circles, side by side. Alira watched. Puzzled. He pointed to the two small circles and then pointed to himself and her. Together, he asked. She looked down at the drawing, then at him. Slowly, she smiled and nodded. That night, under the stars, Ethan felt the steady beating of Alira's heart close to his own. The rhythm matched his faster, excited pulse. A silent promise passed between them. They were not just strangers from different worlds. They were becoming something more. Yet, the forest was not without dangers. One day, while gathering fruit, a strange sound echoed through the trees, a low growl mixed with crackling leaves. A large creature stepped out, its eyes glowing red. It was unlike anything Ethan had seen before. Tall and fierce, with sharp claws and teeth. Alira stepped in front of Ethan, raising her hands in a warning. Her eyes shone brighter. Ethan's heart raced fast, not from fear, but from the need to protect her. The creature growled again and lunged. Ethan grabbed a sturdy branch and swung. Alira used strange gestures, and the air around her shimmered. The creature paused, confused. Working together, Ethan and Alira forced the beast to retreat after the fight. Ethan's heart was pounding hard. Alira moved close and touched his chest. Her hand was warm, calming, fast heartbeat. She said softly. He nodded, breathless. For you? She smiled, and for the first time, Ethan saw tears in her glowing eyes. The farce was strange and wild, but with Alira by his side, Ethan felt hope. He knew this was only the beginning. The days passed slowly but meaningfully. Ethan and Alira grew closer, their bond stronger with each heartbeat shared. Ethan's leg had almost healed, and he could walk longer distances now. Alira led him deeper into the forest, showing him secret places few outsiders ever saw. One morning, as sunlight filtered through the tall glowing trees, they reached a valley filled with strange flowers. The petals shone like glass, reflecting colors Ethan had never seen. Alira smiled and touched one gently. It sang a soft note that echoed in the air. Ethan laughed, feeling a joy he had not known in a long time. But danger was never far. While exploring near the valley, a sudden roar broke the peace. A large, fierce creature charged from the shadows. It was unlike any animal Ethan had seen on Earth or on Torvin 4 before. Its scales glimmered dark red, and its eyes burned with anger. Alira stepped in front of Ethan without hesitation. She raised her hands, and strange lights flickered around her fingers. The creature paused, growling low. Ethan's single quotes as heart pounded fast. He grabbed a thick branch, ready to defend. The beast lunged forward. Ethan swung the branch with all his strength, striking the creature's side. It roared in pain and turned toward Alira. She closed her eyes and whispered softly. The air shimmered around her. The creature hesitated, confused by the strange magic. Taking the chance, Ethan grabbed Alira's hand. They ran through the forest. They heard the beast crashing after them. But then it slowed and stopped, as if something held it back. They reached a hidden cave, dark and cool. Alira lit the entrance with glowing stones. Inside, they rested. Ethan's chest was heaving. Alira pressed her hand over his heart. It was racing, fast heartbeat. She said softly, "For you," Ethan replied. Trying to catch his breath, she smiled, her eyes shining with understanding. "You protect me," she whispered. "And you protect me," Ethan answered. They looked at each other, the silence between them full of meaning. Outside, the forest was alive with noises, soft wind, distant calls, and the pulse of nature. Inside the cave, their hearts spoke louder than words. Alira sat close, leaning her head on Ethan's shoulder. He felt the steady beat of her heart, slow but sure. He touched her hair, soft as silk. "I want to stay," he said quietly. Her eyes met his. "Stay," she repeated. Eli and Vena's days in the hidden world were filled with hope and quiet joy. The glowing trees whispered above them, and the soft breeze carried the songs of birds unknown to Earth. But peace was fragile. Eli knew the past was not far behind. One evening, as the sky turned a deep purple, a sudden warning flashed in Ellie's mind. A distant fleet was approaching their hidden home. He looked at Vena, who already knew without words. "They have found us," she whispered. Eli's single quotes as heart raced. "We must prepare." The people of Vena's world gathered quickly. Though they were few, their will was strong. Eli helped set up defenses with the help of Vena's telepathic guidance. The enemy ships entered the system, dark and threatening. But Vena's people were ready. Using their telepathic powers, they created illusions and confusion among the enemy. Eli piloted their small ship, weaving through the battlefield with steady hands. The fight was tense but brief. The enemy, confused and unable to find their true targets, withdrew. Victory was theirs, but Eli knew this was only the beginning. After the battle, Eli and Vena stood together under the stars. "We have won today," Vena said softly. "But the galaxy is still full of danger." Eli took her hand. "Then we keep fighting. For your people, for Earth, and for us." Vena smiled, her eyes shining. You have changed everything, Eli. You gave me hope when I had none. Eli looked at her, feeling the truth of her words deep inside, and you gave me a reason to keep going. As the stars twinkled above, their minds touched again. The silent whispers that had brought them together now a strong bond. Eli knew that no matter what the future held, he would never be alone. Vanna's telepathic whispers that once kept him awake now filled his life with light and love. Together, they faced the unknown, two souls united across worlds, ready to shape the galaxy's future. The days that followed were peaceful, filled with small discoveries and shared moments. Alira taught Ethan about her people's way of feeling the world, how they listened to heartbeats, how emotions were colors in the air. Ethan taught her simple words from Earth, stories about stars, oceans, and home. One evening, under the shimmering sky, Ethan placed his hand over Alira's heart. It beat faster than usual. She smiled, eyes bright. Want? She said again. Yes, he replied. Their bond was clear now beyond words, beyond language. But the forest was not ready to let them be. One night, strange noises woke Ethan. He looked out and saw figures moving in the shadows, other beings from the forest. Curious and cautious, Alira stepped outside, standing tall. The creatures approached slowly. Their eyes were like hers, glowing softly. They circled Ethan and Alira. Watching, Alira spoke in her language, soft but strong. The creatures listened. Ethan felt his heart beat fast, nervous but calm. After a moment, the creatures stepped back and disappeared into the trees. Alira turned to Ethan, smiling. They accept, she said. He smiled back. He had found a new home. Alira's single quote says. People were beginning to accept him. And his heartbeat was never slow when she was near. The days on Torvenfor grew warmer, and the strange forest was alive with colors and sounds. Ethan and Alira spent many hours together, learning each other's ways. Ethan's English was still slow, and Alira's language was a soft song he struggled to understand. But their hearts spoke clearly. One evening, under the glowing sky, Ethan and Alira sat by the healing spring. The water shimmered with soft light, reflecting the stars above. Alira placed her hand gently on Ethan's chest, feeling his heartbeat. Fast, she whispered. Ethan smiled. Because you're here. Alira's eyes widened. She didn't fully understand, but the feeling was real. She touched his cheek softly. Want? She asked. Yes, Ethan said simply. They sat quietly for a moment. The silence was warm, filled with unspoken feelings. Then, Alira leaned closer and rested her head on Ethan's shoulder. He felt her heartbeat, steady and slow. But when she was near, his own heart raced faster. They stayed like that, watching the glowing trees and listening to the forest songs. Days passed, and Ethan began to understand more about Alira's people. They were connected deeply to nature and to each other. They could hear heartbeats not just with ears, but with their minds and souls. A fast heartbeat meant desire, care, or danger. A slow heartbeat meant calm and trust. Alira's people believed that when two hearts beat as one, a strong bond was made, one that could last forever. One afternoon, Ethan and Alira walked to a place she called the Whispering Stones. Large, smooth rocks stood tall in a circle. When the wind blew through them, soft sounds like voices were heard. Alira placed Ethan's hand on one stone. It vibrated gently. She smiled and pointed to his chest. Heartbeat, she said. He nodded. Then, she placed his hand over her own. Heart. He felt a steady rhythm. Together, she said softly. Ethan smiled back. At that moment, a distant sound interrupted their peace, a sharp crack in the forest. Ethan's heart raced fast with warning. Danger, Alira said, standing quickly. They moved carefully through the trees and found signs of another large creature nearby. It was different from the one they had met before. This one was faster and quieter. Alira looked worried but calm. She held Ethan's hand tightly. Stay close, she said. As the creature approached, Ethan felt his heart beat faster, not from fear, but from determination. He remembered the times Alira had helped him heal, and now he wanted to protect her. The creature came out from the shadows, eyes glowing red. Ethan lifted a sturdy branch and stood in front of Alira. The creature growled low and charged. Ethan swung the branch with all his might, striking the beast. It roared and lunged again, but Alira raised her hands, whispering strange words. The air around her shimmered, and the creature hesitated. They fought together until the beast retreated. After the fight, Ethan's breath was heavy. Alira touched his chest again. His heartbeat was very fast now. Fast heartbeat, she said softly. For you, Ethan replied, smiling. She smiled back, tears glistening in her eyes. That night, by the healing spring, Ethan and Alira sat close. He took her hand and placed it over his heart. Here, he asked. She nodded. Then, she placed his hand over her heart. Their hearts beat in different rhythms but shared a deep connection. Ethan realized he was no longer alone in this strange world. Alira was his guide, his friend. And more. He whispered, I want you. She smiled and whispered back, I want you too. Under the glowing stars, their hearts beat fast together. The morning light fell softly on the forest as Ethan and Alira prepared for a new day. Ethan felt stronger now, his leg almost fully healed. He looked around the glowing trees and felt a mix of wonder and sadness. He missed his home on Earth but felt a deeper pull to stay. Alira smiled at him. She had learned many of his simple words, and Ethan was learning her quiet language. Their bond grew with each shared heartbeat and every soft smile. But today, a new sound broke the peaceful morning. In the distance, Ethan saw light small ships descending toward the forest. Human ships. His heart jumped, fast and wild. Alira saw it too and touched his chest. Fast heartbeat, she said softly, worried. Ethan nodded. Help people from Earth. The ships landed near the healing spring. Soldiers and scientists stepped out, calling his name, Ethan. We thought you were lost. He smiled but felt torn. Alira stayed close, watching silently. The team was surprised to see the alien girl beside him. One soldier stepped forward, eyeing Alira with suspicion. Who is she? He asked sharply. My friend, Ethan said firmly. The soldier frowned. We don't know if she's safe. Alira's heart raced fast at the tension. She did not understand all the words but felt the anger. Ethan stepped between them. She saved me. The soldier looked at Alira again, then back to Ethan. We'll have to take you both back. Alira's eyes filled with fear. She stepped back, feeling like she was losing Ethan. Ethan noticed her pain. He reached out and took her hand, placing it over his heart. Stay, he whispered. But the rescue team was ready to leave. Alira disappeared into the forest, running away. Ethan's heart pounded wildly. He called her name, but the trees swallowed his voice. He ran after her. The forest was dark and thick. Ethan followed the sound of a fast heartbeat, the only sign she left behind. Finally, he found her near the waterfall where they first met. She sat alone, tears shining on her glowing skin. Ethan knelt beside her, taking her hands gently. I'm here, he said softly. She looked up, afraid he would leave again. He placed her hand on his chest. Here, it's my heartbeat. It's for you. Then, he put his hand on her chest and felt her heart beat fast. Want, she whispered. Yes. Ethan replied. She smiled through her tears. Ethan promised, I will stay. Earth can wait. They sat together, their hearts beating fast. In the quiet night, a new chapter was beginning. The days passed gently as Ethan stayed with Alira on Torvin 4. The forest was alive with soft lights and strange songs, but Ethan no longer felt like an outsider. He was learning to live in this new world. Each morning, Alira led him to the healing spring. She showed him plants that glowed softly and creatures that moved like shadows through the trees. Ethan listened to her quiet voice, trying to learn her words. One day, Ethan sat by the spring, feeling the cool water on his hands. Alira came close and placed her hand over his chest. His heartbeat was steady, but strong, steady. She said with a soft smile. Ethan nodded. Because you are. Here, Alira's eyes lit up. She reached for his hand and held it against her heart. It beat faster than before. Want, she whispered. Always, Ethan said. Their connection deepened. But not all was peaceful. One afternoon, a group of Alira's people arrived, tall, graceful beings with silver blue skin and glowing eyes. They approached cautiously, watching Ethan carefully. Alira stepped forward and spoke softly in her language. The group listened, their expressions serious. Ethan felt his heart beat fast with nervousness. He stood tall and tried to smile. One elder stepped closer. She studied Ethan, then touched his chest gently. Heartbeat, she said. Alira nodded. He is one with us. The elder smiled, a rare and warm expression. He stays, she declared. Ethan felt relief flood his chest. He was accepted. That night, under the glowing sky, Ethan and Alira sat together, their hands intertwined, their hearts beating fast in shared rhythm. Ethan whispered, "Home is here now." Alira smiled, her eyes soft and bright. "With you," she said. Their hearts spoke the language of love, simple, pure, and true. Months passed on. Dwarven 4, and Ethan had become a part of the forest and its people. The once lonely human explorer was now a trusted friend among Alira's kind. His heart beat strong and steady, but always faster whenever Alira was near. Alira and Ethan spent their days exploring, learning, and growing closer. Their bond was no longer just about heartbeats, it was about trust, friendship, and love. One day, the elder who had accepted Ethan invited them both to a special ceremony. The air was filled with soft glowing lights, and the forest creatures gathered quietly around a large stone circle. The elder spoke softly, explaining that Ethan's acceptance meant he had become part of their family. Alira's people believed in deep bonds, connections made through heartbeats that matched and feelings that could not be broken. Ethan felt nervous but proud. He looked at Alira, who smiled and took his hand. The ceremony was simple but beautiful. They placed their hands on a glowing stone in the center of the circle. Ethan felt warmth flow through him, and he heard a gentle pulse, his heartbeat matching Alira's. The elder said, "Your heart's beat is one. This bond is strong. You belong here, together." Ethan smiled, his eyes shining. Alira leaned close and whispered, "You are home." After the ceremony, Ethan and Alira walked through the glowing forest, hand in hand. The creatures around them moved peacefully, and the air was full of quiet songs. Ethan knew he had found something rare and precious. His life on Earth felt distant, like a dream fading in the morning light. He felt his heart race, not from fear or excitement, but from love. Alira stopped and looked up at him. Her eyes were soft, full of warmth. "My heart," she said simply. "My heart," Ethan replied. They smiled, their hearts beating fast together. No words were needed. The forest, the stars, and the soft night breeze held their promise. Their hearts would beat as one always.